Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Alifah Oktaviani. I'm from class 3A and my ID number is 222322008. I want to explain about native like proficiency in English. What is native speaker proficiency? Someone at this language proficiency level was either raised speaking the language as their native tongue or has been speaking it so long that they are completely fluent. They have little or no accent, present as native English or bilingual English and Spanish. About native-like proficiency. If you break the entire process of reaching the highest level of English language mastery into multiple stages, then it's suddenly a much easier picture to paint. Native-like proficiency in English refers to the highest level of fluency and competence in the English language, comparable to that of a native speaker. Individuals with native-like proficiency are often able to speak, understand, read, and write English with the same ease, accuracy, and naturalness as someone who grew up speaking the language. Nobody can go from 0 to 100 overnight, but you can certainly pick specific pieces up on the go and acquire as much language skill, knowledge, and fluency as possible before you can pair up with the natives. Everyone's language learning journey has to start somewhere, whether it's at the first English lesson at school, through music and television, or during a trip to an English-speaking country. The fun part of it all is during whatever comes next. If your ultimate goal as an English language learner is to become a native-like speaker, it is imminent that you go through these 5 stages at a certain point in time, one way or the other. And there is the 5th stage of becoming a native-like English speaker. First stage is conversational basics. The first step of the English language learning journey are small indeed. However, mastering each and every step at this stage serves as an immediate compass for setting your language learning goals and a stimulus toward reaching the more complicated stuff as soon as possible. In order to get to the hard stuff and hang out with the grown-ups, language learners simply must learn to express themselves at the basic level first before being able to pick up a Hemingway book or watch a Nolan movie without any difficulties. The following is a short list of all the things that are covered at this particular stage. First, learning the English alphabet by heart. Second, using basic expression, example greetings, introducing oneself, asking for direction, and many other. And the third, knowing how to respond to questions and converse with basic expressions. And the next is practicing listening of short conversations for comprehension. The next is the ability to communicate routine information on familiar concepts. And the next is touching on the basics of reading, example, reading only short sentences, saying words, and many other. And the second is vocabulary frenzy. Although abundant vocabulary is not the only thing English learners face at this particular stage, it is by far the one aspect of English they will spend most time on. Personally, I like to revisit this stage on a daily basis even to this day. An English speaker can never know too many words due to the infinite amount of situations they can find themselves in. Moreover, touching You want the world of English grammar to be able to fully express oneself goes hand in hand with continually enriched vocabulary. Here are a few bullet points with things to be mastered at stage 2. First, learning a plethora of new words that are used in different contexts. Second, learning new phrases and expressions beyond everyday usage. Third, practicing proper pronunciation. The next, practicing reading of large pieces of content. The next is learning the basics of English grammar. And the last is learning the basics of writing English, example comma placement, subject verb agreement, and many other. And the third stage is grammar killer. Once you swim into the water of English grammar, there's no going back. You are either in or you are out. Yes, words and expressions are important, but they mean absolutely nothing if they are spoken in a senseless way. This stage is the gray area between knowing the basics of English expression and turning it into coherent language output in the real world. Here, you have some inevitable steps of an English learner that is midway to attaining native-like fluency. First, getting acquainted with all of the English regular tenses. Second, learning more advanced grammar, example conditionals, passive voice, and many other. And the third, the ability to understand and express complex ideas, feelings, and topics. And the fourth, the ability to properly articulate a wide range of language in most situations. Next, the ability to effectively discern and use advanced vocabulary, example homophones, synonyms, antonyms, and many others. The ability to read fluently without little to no pronunciation errors. And the next is the ability to speak fluently but with a lot of pronunciation and grammar errors. And the last is having a broad active reading vocabulary with difficulties in understanding infrequent idiomatic expression. And the fourth stage is earn your stripes. It always becomes the hardest towards the end. Just wanted you have mastered all the words you will ever need and all the grammar possible. English pulls a rabbit out of its head in the form of idioms, phrasal, verbs, complex sentence structure, with writing rules, and many others. This stage is about learning the bits and pieces for improving and polishing all of the English language skills, even though they are still somewhat rough around the edges. They contain all the tiny, multi-shaped pieces needed for finishing the giant puzzle that is the English language. The following things are must-learn aspects of English before you can head into the deep water of native-like speakers. The ability to understand everything you read with some trouble understanding all the details during listening. The ability to understand and use academic, obsolete, and slang words expression without much difficulty. The ability to produce written and verbal content for different purposes, example academic papers, verbal presentations, and many others. The ability to follow and understand long formats of text at once. The ability to fluently and effectively understand and use phrasal verbs. Having a great command of all English tenses and advanced sentence constructions more written than verbally. And the last stage is all hands on deck. We have arrived at the final stage where the initial learning process is sort of over. However, you can never know all of the language that is out there. If English is your second language, your job doesn't stop at reaching the highest level of fluency. A skill that is accurate and not natural can deteriorate over time. That being said, these are the characteristics and virtues of a native-like English speaker. The ability to understand everything you hear and read. And then the next slide is, and so which stage are you at? Learning how to track your progress and recognize flaws in your language learning process is a big part of answering these questions. And there is a characteristics of native-like proficiency in English. For the first is pronunciation and accent. The first characteristic is pronunciation and accent. People with native-like proficiency typically have near-perfect pronunciation and intonation, making it difficult for others to distinguish them from native speakers based solely on their speech. The second characteristic is vocabulary and idiomatic expression. They have a rich and varied vocabulary, are comfortable using idiomatic expressions, slangs, and colloquialisms, and can adapt their language to different social and cultural contexts. The third characteristic is grammatical accuracy. Native-like speakers have a deep understanding of English grammar rules and rarely make grammatical errors in their speech or writing. And the fourth characteristic is natural fluency. Their speech flows naturally without pauses or hesitations, and they can engage in extended conversation on a wide range of topics without difficulty. And the last characteristic is cultural awareness. They are often well versed in the cultural nuance and subtleties of English-speaking country, which helps them navigate social interaction effectively. It is important to note that achieving native-like proficiency in a second language is extremely challenging and rare. Even highly proficient non-native speakers may still have subtle differences in their language use, accent, or cultural understanding compared to native speakers. And so that's all for me. I'm so sorry for many mistakes from me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.